Namaste, my friend. I'm just deviating from the 40 steps to address your challenges of the mind by another teaching, by another text. And the name of that text is Hammer the Delusion. Delusion that causes the stress, suffering, anxiety, duality, conflict, ego, and we continue to live into that. Another name of the same text is Bhaj Govindam, discover the real love for the real, or you can say the love for the real self. When we love the real self, there is no issues. All the issues. On one side, we hammer the delusion. On the other side, we get rid of attachment, duality, conflict. Attachment means that it is also kind of a love. I love you, but with attachment. So, means what? I have an expectations. So, if I keep the expectations on anything from anyone in any situation, it is going to hurt us. I appreciate you wrote to me that what you wrote, I'm at the point in my life where I can do what I want, and what I realize. I have no one to answer to. Remember this, I have no one to answer to. I have really realized that lately that I feel good about it. I just need to stop and think and remember this. That is what the hammer the delusion is. And so you see that what happened. Hammer the delusion, we do it intellectually, logically. It is just think of an equilateral triangle. So we move from one side of our mind through the reason logically, and from one side of the mind we move with an emotion. So instead emotion is stuck in anything outside, let their emotion be totally free. So emotional freedom on one side, knowledge on the other side, they both meet together. You are free from the delusion and suffering. I appreciate and I adore it. One thing I'm very happy, as you wrote, is that I can just sit and feel totally peaceful. This is what the absence of the delusion. Without doing anything or listening to anything. Yes, that is the sign of the progress. That is an indication that you are a higher level of a seeker. And further you said, I feel calm. I haven't felt before. Kind of heavy feeling, if that makes sense. Yes, you're doing nothing and your mind is pure, it is looking inside you. You are there. But we will understand it. We will understand it in a clear and a deeper way. That how to live our daily life. Where are the challenges that we have pertaining to the delusion or ignorance? And sometimes attachment, that is what causes the emotional bondage. So anytime, anywhere, with eyes open or closed. But let us do it with eyes closed in the beginning, and then you can do, even when you are talking to someone, you should be doing this practice. Why? You wrote to me what you wrote to me. You wrote to me, I just need to stop and think and remember this principle. So a reminder will return to you when you follow today's practice. It's very simple. But yes, first few days you can do the practice with eyes closed, and after that you do the eye practice with eyes open. And I will expand this practice to make it a practice for you all the time. So close your eyes, position of the body, the place where you are sitting, whatever the position, everything is open. And then being comfortable, so find out as you wrote to me that you just sit and feel totally peaceful. So move the mind on the entire body from the top of the head to the toes and experience sensation, comfort, and steadiness. Done. Because now you are a seeker, I need not to explain how to become comfortable. And now you are carefree. So your reference point is in the space inside the forehead, and you are aware of the thoughts coming and going, feeling and emotions. They are coming and going, and you are free. That is why you experience the sense of calmness and you are feeling peaceful. But we will go a little deeper. So, in that state of being comfortable, being carefree, look at the breath. Look at what the breathing track going in, coming out. Do not change the rate and the rhythm of the breath. Keep on watching, observing, and feeling the breath going in, feeling the breath coming out. No change. Feeling the breath going in, feeling the breath coming out. When you see the track of the breath going in, drop the mantra Shanto Hum. It means I am the peace. But how to see that peace? Every time the breath goes in, you see the you drop Shanto Hum, non-verbal, mentally, without moving the lips or the tongue. And also you drop Shanto Hum when the breath is coming out. You already know it means I am the peace, but what one more thing that you are reflecting. You are reflecting, I am the peace. How do you reflect? When the breath goes in, you are dropping Shanto Hum mantra and you look into the good space, whether it is a good space or empty space or blankness. As if you are looking, while looking at the emptiness or a blank space, you are dropping Shanto Hum on the each breath going in and on the each breath coming out. Shanto Hum. Breath comes out, Shanto. But Shanto Hum with reflection of the good space inside when the breath goes in and outside when the breath comes out. What will happen? Thoughts will come and go. When the thoughts are coming, keep the Shanto Hum in the good space. The sky does not disappear if millions of the birds are flying. We know it is flying in the sky. Highway does not disappear, cannot be destroyed if you have a traffic jam. You only see the traffic, but inside, deeper within, you are aware of the highway. Nothing happens to the water. You have millions of waves. So your awareness is on the space while dropping Shanto hum, while breathing in, while breathing out. Now you want to go deeper into that practice? Leave the breath. Look at the forehead mentally, then look inside the forehead in the space. Pick a point in the space. A good space is already there. And when you pick a point in the space, you drop Shanto hum. Enjoy that good space. Return again. Look at, look inside the forehead in the space. Then pick a point in the space. Drop Shanto hum. Enjoy the good space. Thoughts are there, yes. Feeling, emotions are there. Let it be there. I told you. Traffic jam may be there, highway doesn't disappear. So every time you see the space, pick a point, drop the Shanto hum and enjoy that space. You know, awareness of that space, awareness of the highway, awareness of the sky, awareness of the water in spite of millions of waves. Now open your eyes gently, but again withdraw your awareness. Become aware of the forehead, then become aware of the space inside the forehead. It is just an awareness. It is nothing to do with eyes. And then pick a point in that space and drop Shanto. Enjoy that space even with eyes open. This is just the beginning. And gradually we will go into the higher aspects of this. You will definitely experiencing peace and happiness. So I told you the text is the Bhaja Govindam. Bhaja Govindam has many meanings, but love to the real self. But the name of the same book is Hammer the Delusion. It means the knowledge and the love should go together. Knowledge from the intellect, emotions from the mind. So that emotion is not going down. What it means when it is going down: attachment, expectation, duality, conflict. Intellect, our intellect has a free will. Intellect means the knowledge, and the love is emotion. I'm going slowly. Pure emotion is unconditional. Impure emotion is attachment, or you can say that love which has an expectation, that is attachment. It is conditional love. Unconditional means not attached, not binding, not dependent. Not dependent. You should remember all the time, knowledge, right knowledge. And if I use, just to qualify, to make you understand, right knowledge and the right emotion, both are unconditional. When both are, and we have to awaken to that right emotion and the right knowledge to awaken to the unconditional love to discover the real self. Wrong knowledge or the false knowledge is like the conditional love and the knowledge. Both causes attachment. Not only both causes attachment, both causes foolishness, emotional dependence, intellectual paralysis, and then we start suffering. So we become responsible for our own suffering. So anytime your mind stucks, have sense of anxiety, reaction, expectation, both knowledge and emotions are binding. It is conditional. And that is what I covered in the last few sessions: perception with projection and perception without projection. Did you understand it clearly? Mind by default, when you wake up in the morning, all the five senses are active. You don't, even if you don't want to listen, you hear the sound that strikes your ears. You don't want to see, not possible as long as your eyes are open. You see what is in front of you. What smell? All sense organs are open to the world. Clear? So you have sensation, maybe that sensation, maybe in terms of the thought, feeling, emotions. Are you clear? I'm going slowly. This is purely a perception. So I have feeling of this sensation. I have a sensation of monitor before me, and you are before me. What is projection? This monitor is not good. It gives me the blurred picture. Or it is very good. It gives me a good picture. This is projection. First, there is a sensation through these sense organs, and then perception with imagined pleasure or pain. And that happens to us all the time because past impressions are already stored in our memory, and from the memory, those impressions trigger while perceiving. While perceiving means while going out in the world through the five sense organs, we have a projection. And any time this perception with a projection, if it is guided by the likes and dislikes, pain and the pleasure, then it causes the suffering. But very near to the mind, almost attached, there is an intellect. And that intellect should start thinking. This is very beautiful. Hold on. Let the intellect become aware what the mind is saying. Perception with a projection. And the intellect analyzes, gives reasons, and finds out if there is an attachment. You are hammering the delusion. When? There and then. How? Mentally and internally. Even when you are with someone knocks the door, you meet a person you hate. So your expression changes. Two things happen. Perception is one, perception of that person, and then perception with projection. And in that moment, if the intellect interferes, intellect doesn't allow that projection to continue. You are able to control yourself, you welcome the person, and you start talking and communicating without projection. Are you getting it? Mind has perception. Mind has perception with projection. That projection cannot be treated without the help of an intellect. The intellect has to examine, it reasons, it finds out whether this projection belongs to the likes and dislikes, whether this projection belongs to the love and the hate. When the intellect analyzes, reasons, understands, then that intellect guides our mind. What the heck? Why you are doing like this? You are doing like this because of expectations from the people outside. Do something where there is no expectation and attachment. So you contemplated, you reflected on it, then what happens? There is a right knowledge in the intellect, in that right knowledge, that pure emotion also starts flowing in your mind. What I have to do with attachment or pain and pleasure? Your intellect just concludes that. So knowledge in the love, now moving up. Moving upward means the right knowledge, the right emotion, or pure emotion, pure knowledge. This text, I'm just giving an introduction of this text and then we will go each and every principle of it. So you enter into the wisdom, and when you enter into the wisdom, there you are always in peace and calm. Both unconditional love and the wisdom enter into our mind. We create a conducive environment anytime, anywhere. Because you are a seeker, you have to start working on it. So Eastern wisdom, or this text, guides individual seekers towards the self-discovery, an end of suffering. When I recognize, for example, when I recognize, I look at a person and there is an imagined projection, it contains an element of an attachment. My intellect says, okay, I'm attached to this person. Is it worth being attached? Your intellect says no, and your mind becomes free. That is what you told me. You wrote me in the email that now I have to remember this. This you have to remember. And that is why I switched on the text and the teaching. That real self is nearest to the near. It is the farthest to, it is also the farthest, it is also the nearest. Why it is farthest? Because the mind is filled with a perception, with projection, and that projection takes the mind too far from oneself. And when the mind goes too far, you lose your awareness. You create a shade and the color of your thought, feeling, and emotion pertaining to others. That is why you wrote to me that I seek an approval from her. For anything that I do, your mind is too far. You lost yourself. You don't know who you are. And that is why you are seeking an approval from others. Are you getting it? That is why I said it is nearest to the near, it is farthest to the further. It is nearest to the near means that real self, that peace, that permanent happiness, that joy, that love is beyond body, breath, mind, intellect, and ego, which we experience. They are nearer to me. So it is nearest to these near thoughts, feeling, emotions, frustration, fear, anxiety, duality, and a conflict takes place in the body mind complex, not in the real self. So when you wrote that when I do nothing, I experience that peace and calm, you are experiencing peace and calm from the real self. It is the knowledge that is pointing you to the real self. Know it, my friend, because knowing is good. Living into it by practicing it, living is better. And the final journey, be it I experience peace. No, be peace. Become peace. Epitome of the peace and calmness. So the intellect will always, now you see, the intellect will not always help you when the intellect is not helping me. When the impure mind dictates the intellect sings in tune with the mind. It has it we have millions of experiences like this. Mind gets agitated, angry, and it has projected anxiety and reaction about a person, and that mind says, I hate this guy. You are reasoning, but now this mind has been dictating over the intellect. So your anger, because of your strong likes and dislikes, remains present. So that is why I said the intellect not always help us. So we have to remember, is the intellect under the influence of the mind, impure mind, or it is free to communicate, to reflect. The alphabets which creates the thought is the same in worries, anxiety, and also in contemplation and reflection. Same alphabets. Do you see that? Alphabet is the same, but worries comes because of projection, contemplation and reflection comes from the intellect. There you get it. It is the same thought process. One type of the thought which is dominated by the mind, it causes unnecessary, unwanted worries. Same alphabet creates another pattern of the thought. That is what the contemplation and reflection. So what it means, anytime you have anxiety, duality, and a conflict, first awaken your intellect. Remember this. And let your intellect say, let me find out where is the anxiety, how the anxiety has come, how the reaction has come, and then you start the contemplation. I told you, first step is to know it by the intellect. Second step is to live in it, means that I practice. Third step is be it. To know is good. I mean to say no, peace is good. To live in peace is better. To be the peace is the best. Remember this all the time. Well, you can use to be calm, to be caring and sharing. To know caring and sharing is good. To apply that caring and sharing in daily life is better. And you become an epitome of being caring and sharing. Buddha, Jesus said love is God. That is what the Eastern wisdom is telling about. So what happens, when the mind thinks, speaks, and acts with the help of the intellect, means knowledge, it can understand what is subjective and what is objective reality. Where is subjective reality? You are. I am. In that context, I am and you are the same. or the essence of you, essence of me, and essence of every individual in this world is the same. What is the essence of candy, dessert, ice cream? Sweetness. But outside you have a different shape, size, temperature. So that essence is the real self. That essence is the subjective reality. And the shape, color, form is the objective reality which is constantly changing. Are you getting it? So there are two aspects. One is the real self, the essence, I told you, the sweetness, and then the outer surface level, which is known as the body mind complex. Or you can say body, breath, mind, intellect, all the actions created by these body, mind, breath, intellect, plus emotions, plus attachment, plus duality, plus anxiety, all are objective reality. Real self is subjective reality. I believe you can easily understand. I told you essence, the sweetness of a sugar or sweetness of an ice cream, candy, dessert. That is not seen. Objective reality is either seen or sometime it is not seen. Like our negative emotions in the field. But why we are learning this? So you see there is body, breath, mind, intellect, ego plus all the actions. Objective reality, there is a real self. So when this I thought, due to the impurity, identifies with the body-mind complex, then it starts projecting, seeking pleasure, it enters into a delusion. When the same I identifies with the real self, you are always sweet. That is what you have experienced, I told you. That is what you wrote to me. I am so happy that at last you got a clue, you got an understanding that I did nothing and I was in the state of peace and calmness. Why not I should be in the state of peace and calmness 24 by 7? Because of the impure mind, because of the projection, because of the delusion. So our session from today, from this series onward, will be hammer the delusion, find the love for the real self. When you find the love for the real self, you will love everyone. There is no question of conditional love. There is no question of attachment. Now we will go with the formula. Remember this all the time. Individual, we say individual. I'm still going deep into what you wrote to me. Why I'm doing like this? So that at least you should reflect on this, and from there you become a higher seeker. Clear? So now see the formula. Individual self is equal to mathematical. Individual self is equal to body mind complex plus real self. And then what is the real self? Real self is equal to individual self minus body and mind complex. Minus. So minus means de-identification. Minus means detachment. Minus means dispassion. Open it further, the individual self. I am Mike, I am rich, I am poor, I have lot of stress. Now I am very happy, I have lot of pleasure in the world outside. For me, all these are individual self. But it contains the real self. All are candies, but all candies are sweet. You have to contemplate and reflect because you are a seeker now. What did I say? There are many candies, but all candies are sweet. But that sweetness in the candies is independent, different from the different name and the forms of the candies. Real self is independent entity. The sweetness is an independent entity, but the outer form and the shape are always dependent. Same way, that real self is independent entity, and body mind complex with the thought, feeling, emotions, they are dependent on the real self. You have to know it. To know it is good, to live is better, to be is the best. Did you understand? This individual self has ignorance, has impurity. The real self is not, can never become impure. It is always in the in the state of permanent happiness, love, truth, and wisdom. So when we awaken to that, we are in unconditional love. Then we become a contributor. We do not remain a consumer. The mind never thinks about expectations and attachment. All those verses will come. I'm just introducing this. Just understand that. So you see that this I with the body mind complex is like a drop of water that merges with an ocean. And ocean is what? Ocean of the real self. That is all perfect. Then what happens? Then even if you need not to remember, it is by default you live into that state. So instead of seeking the essential nature, we often chase fleeting pleasures from the world outside. In your case, you wrote to me, I was seeking an approval. Means I have some expectations from others. And if the expectations are met, I feel good. Expectations are not met, I am frustrated. We try to escape the pain, we try to add some pleasure with approval, with expectations, with attachment. As if we are in search for the peace, happiness, love, and the wisdom in the external world where it is not. But why don't I realize that peace and happiness are not located outside? It is because of ignorance, because I don't know, because I'm attached, because I have expectations. Are you getting it? You have to listen to it again, prepare a summary, and send to me. You're asking a question and you're getting an answer from this talk. That is what the process of contemplation and reflection, that is the process of moving to the right knowledge. You are hammering the delusion of the mind by doing this. What is the goal of the Eastern wisdom? Let me say in a different way. Love and the wisdom both. Unconditional love. And right knowledge. So what happens in the presence of the right knowledge? The delusion goes away and unconditional love from inside manifests. For that I have to separate the real self and the false self. False self is an individual, I just told you. And the real self, I told you, the sweetness. That is hidden, but still that is. Candy will not remain the candy if the sweetness is not there. Do you see that? But the sweetness is not visible, is not seen, it is felt, it is known. But when my mind has a perception with a projection that includes seeking pain and pleasure because of attachment, because of expectations, because of duality, because of division, I am searching water in the mirage. I have to repeat again and again. I have to live into that awareness. If you don't live into that awareness, it will not work. Any time during the day, how many times I was upset, I was into anxiety reaction, blame, complaint, frustration, it is just a pointer to the delusion, my friend. So when you recognize the consequences of this delusion, what are the consequences? So you have it, thoughts and emotions associated with anything in the world outside causes the delusion, and delusion creates the desire, and that desire, repeated desire, seeking happiness in the external sources, starts driving my life, and then that person is trying to fill a bucket with the holes. And that causes the frustration. That is the problem. That is what you wrote to me, approval, expectations. So we are trying to fill a bucket with many holes, never realizing that the water will always drain out. You will never realize my mind will ever remain frustrated. Intellectually, through my intellect, I have to remind myself the futility of seeking happiness externally, seeking peace externally. But then what happens? If I am consumed by a delusion, we are going to explain it in the following sessions in detail. So, and I have already explained in the previous sessions that when a person is caught in the delusion, consumes the world as much as possible, leading to the strong likes and dislikes, craving, greed, pride, jealousy, frustration, anger, hesitation. Because I'm consuming, I'm not contributing, I'm not giving. It is impossible to be free from the suffering, conflict. So we have to remind ourselves what to remind. The true source of happiness and peace are within you. You have experimented. You did nothing. You were peace and calm, peaceful and calm. Hold on to that thought. Few times during the day. Do nothing and see. If you are peaceful and calm, if not, then start the inquiry with the intellect. And that is what the remedy. The remedy is to discover one's real self, the source of permanent happiness, peace, love, truth, and wisdom. We are just searching the hidden treasure inside us, a treasure that has always been there, but was overlooked due to delusion. There is another way to say it. You shift your perspective. What is that change in perspective? Remember, reminder, peace and happiness are within me when the mind is craving for something, someone, some situation, some expectation. So remind yourself that peace and happiness are within. Why? Mind, you are in state of anxiety, reaction. I have to say it in your mind in the beginning. If you don't say it will not work. Means you have to invoke the intellect. You have to free the intellect from the bondage of the mind. So when you start hammering the delusion, actually you reset your life and find a deeper purpose. You discover your real self, which is the source of permanent peace and happiness. You remove your ignorance, projection, and delusion through the self discovery. You understand the causes of the suffering and how to end it. You achieve self fulfillment. You had a moment of self fulfillment. That is why you wrote to me. So that individual self is also known as the false self, is also known as the ego self, is like a dark cloud that obscures the radiant sun. And the sun is like a real self. And the dark clouds have obscured the sun. But then how do you know there are dark clouds? You know it in the presence, in the light of the sun. Are you getting it? We say that dark clouds veiled, covered the sun completely. I see it. Yes, I see it. So how do you see it? You still see it in the presence of the sunlight. And that is what the subjective reality is, and that is where we want to achieve. We want to go. My master used to say this: worldly pleasures or seeking pleasure and happiness outside is like a salt water that only increases the thirst and craving. The more you indulge in them, greater the problem. Think, think, my friend. We are trying to understand the true nature of the. And that is the example. Just as the sweetness is present in various forms of the sugar, such as candy, ice cream, dessert, tea, coffee, curd, that sweetness is our real self, subjective reality. I have to recognize, we will contemplate and reflect and recognize the impurities of the mind, many layers of the impurities, and it hijacks the intellect, and then intellect starts singing the same tune what the mind is saying. Mind says you are wrong, so the intellect also says you are wrong without thinking. You have not analyzed. How? Hammer the delusion by thinking, by contemplation, and love the real self. That journey we are going to undertake. You see that real self, you have to find the real self. You have to peel. It is just like peeling an onion. Outermost layer is the body, second layer is the energy, third layer is the mind, which has made me crazy, the fourth layer is the ego, the fifth layer is the ignorance, and then what is left is the pure consciousness. A beautiful teaching by this great master who lived in 8th century, I would say, almost 1400 years ago. It contains only 31 verses. You know the verses I explained to you before. Every verse is like a couplet, so they are two-liners. Mostly they are two-liners, and every line has two parts. So it means it's a four-part, and every part talks about one principle, one understanding, and that is what we are going to understand each and every verse. Result: self-fulfillment. What is self-fulfillment? You recognize that the peace and happiness are our essential nature. So you see that now one couplet means two-liner, four parts. Every part each part, sometime one part gives you maybe 5 or 6 principles. When you listen to these verses in their translation, when you really understand it, you are a seeker. It jolts. It amazes you how beautifully these principles are woven together, which acts as a reminder, which acts as a reminder to our essential nature. And that results into awakening to the real self, awakening to peace and happiness, love and wisdom. Challenges are there in the life of the seeker. What are those challenges? The strong attachment and detachment, strong likes and dislikes. They return again and again. And every time they return, you keep on dealing with them, removing the projection, removing the delusion, and one day it happens that you reach to that state of awakening. Thank you.